KBG, what it do, fam?
What it do,
Hey, we miss y'all, man. Y'all see what we got, though. Y'all see we got chilling scares. YouTubers that became, you know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna end up on there. Y'all know we family, man. So y'all keep us right. Keep y'all right, man. Make sure y'all snack up, man. Y'all already know the routine. Kick back and
Get
chill.
your snacks, get your dinner.
Wine.
Right.
Let's check out these YouTubers, gang.
Suzanne Eaton was a 59-year-old American scientist who was working as a professor of molecular biology in Dresden, Germany. A big part of her job at this institute was to travel around the world and hold conferences on the latest developments in her field. In July of 2019, she traveled to the scenic Greek island of Crete for one of these conferences, not knowing that this was going to be her last, and that the person responsible for her end would be cut because of his videos on YouTube. The incident happened on July 2nd, when, after a conference, Suzanne spent time with her peers and played the public piano in the venue's lobby before saying her goodbyes and heading out to her hotel in the afternoon. Sadly, this was the last time anyone saw Suzanne alive. Her coworkers noticed her absence when she didn't show up for the second conference scheduled for 6 p.m. that evening. It wasn't like her to skip events out of the blue. Something wasn't right. A fact that became increasingly clear when over 24 hours passed without anyone hearing from her. So, on July 3rd, her colleagues called the police to check on her, hoping she was simply sick or something similar. However, when officers arrived at her hotel room, no one answered the door. They acquired a spare key from the hotel management and went inside, only to find the room completely empty and undisturbed. All of Suzanne's belongings were also still in the room. The only things missing were her running shoes and a set of exercise clothes. Those who knew her immediately understood what this meant. You see, in addition to her academic prowess and piano expertise, Suzanne was also an athlete at heart. She was a double black belt in Taekwondo, and despite her age, loved going on a run every day. Knowing this helped investigators narrow down what might have happened to her. Put simply, she likely went on a run soon after returning to her hotel on July 2nd, and something went wrong after that. She wasn't super familiar with the area, and to make matters worse, the weather was uncomfortably hot that afternoon. There was a strong possibility she collapsed from the heat or something else along those lines. After putting this together, the Crete police immediately dispatched a search and rescue team in the area surrounding her hotel and around popular running trails. Her family even traveled to Crete and put a €50,000 reward for anyone who could help find Suzanne. Unfortunately, Suzanne was nowhere to be found. That is until 5 days later, on July 8th, when two young men were exploring one of the abandoned World War II Nazi bunkers scattered across Crete. Around 200 meters in, one of them noticed a piece of burlap covering something on the ground. They picked it up from one end to see what was underneath, and what they found was the aftermath of one of the most horrific crimes in Crete's recent history. The burlap was covering the bloody remains of Suzanne Eaton. A later autopsy report discovered that Suzanne had several broken ribs, multiple fractures throughout her body, a missing ear, and much more. Whatever happened to her, it certainly was not an accident. The investigators began searching for clues, and fortunately it didn't take long for them to make their first major breakthrough. A set of car tire tracks leading up to the entrance of the bunker. Analyzing these tracks allowed investigators to find the car responsible for transporting Suzanne's remains to that bunker. It belonged to 27-year-old Yanis Paraskakis, a local sheep farmer. But when questioned, Yanis feigned ignorance and claimed that him driving through that area on that day was nothing more than a coincidence. He went as far as to say that he didn't even know about the existence of that bunker, a lie that would eventually lead to his arrest. You see, Yanis had a dream to become a successful YouTuber. He started a channel with his own name in 2012 and began posting videos. However, if you go to his channel today, all you'll find are 3 videos of him performing an ancient Chinese martial art and meditation technique called Qigong. That's because a couple days before Suzanne's body was discovered, Yanis deleted every other video on his channel. And once authorities recovered some of these deleted videos, it became clear why. You see, most of these deleted videos involved Yanis exploring abandoned World War II bunkers, including the one where Suzanne's remains were discovered. This contradiction gave the authorities the go-ahead to formally arrest him on July 15. It also allowed them to investigate him further, and the evidence they discovered was overwhelming. As it turned out, the land where this bunker was located was owned by Yanis's family. Investigators also found traces of Suzanne's blood in his car's trunk. When confronted with this evidence, Yanis cracked and told the whole story. According to him, he saw Suzanne running down the road and something came over him. He hit her with his car twice before putting her in his car, driving to the bunker.
Something came over. You see the person running. and something came over me, just make me want to run him over 2 times.
And do something so sadistic to her, like that just
took
don't
an ear
make
off.
no damn sense.
Broke 7 ribs.
Something
Was it 7
fractured.
ribs? Yeah,
I think
like,
so. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Like something just came with you. Like you just got possessed with a demon or something.
He hit her with his car twice before putting her in his car, driving to the bunker, and ending her life there. He later changed his story to where he was compelled to commit this crime by a demon. Unfortunately for him, the jury didn't buy this one bit and sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole in 2020. Now, this should have been the end of Giannis's story, but from what I've seen, there's more to his actions than just this one crime he was convicted of. The thing is, Giannis presented his vile act as a crime of opportunity, something he did completely out of nowhere. However, there's evidence to suggest that Giannis might be a full-blown serial killer. For instance, he was apparently detained by the police twice before, once for arson and once for animal cruelty, both of which are well-known early behaviors of serial killers. After his arrest, several other women also came forward, testifying that he had tried to run them over with his car as well in the past. So, Suzanne was more than likely not his first victim. However, the most solid evidence against Giannis is in one of the deleted videos he uploaded to YouTube. In it, we can see him showing some very human-looking bones scattered throughout the same bunker Suzanne was discovered in. These bones were never discovered by the authorities, suggesting they might have been removed by Giannis to hide evidence. But what makes this truly disturbing, suggesting they might have been removed by Giannis to hide evidence. But what makes this truly disturbing is what his friend says at one point in the same video. This roughly translates into, "Is this where you left that old guy?" Insinuating that Giannis had disposed of one of his previous victims in the same bunker before. And if that is the case, one can only wonder how many other people Giannis has killed over the years.
Right. Probably a lot.
Simply Manic 6075 was a YouTube channel owned and operated by 24-year-old Samantha Wolford. She lived in the small community of Monticello, Texas, with her husband Ernest Lee Ibarra, aka Ernie, and their 5 children. She usually made videos about her day-to-day life and other random topics. Her story began in 2008 when she was at the lowest point of her life. She'd recently become the single mother of a pair of twins and had no love interest in her life. That's when she met Ernie at a local tattoo shop, and the two hit it off right from the get-go, eventually getting in a relationship and starting a family together. In one of her videos, Samantha described the day she met Ernie as the happiest day of her life. Together, they were blessed with 3 more children, including 1 more pair of twins. Raising 5 kids was a challenge, but Ernie made it work by taking a second job in pizza delivery. So, while they had endured tough times together, Samantha, Ernie, and their 5 children appeared to be the perfect loving family. However, while being a stay-at-home mother was all she could do at the time, Samantha still had a dream of becoming a famous actress one day.
I've always wanted to be an actress. I think it is so much fun. I've been extras in movies. I've had small parts in like short films. It is so much fun and it is so beautiful. It is one of the most amazing forms of art ever to be able to express yourself that way. I think it's amazing.
So, in October 2010, she created her YouTube channel and started posting videos, hoping to become a popular YouTuber and fulfill her dream on the internet instead. And things were going surprisingly okay in the beginning. Samantha would post new videos whenever she had something new to say. And while most of her videos struggled to get past 100 views at the time, the few viewers she had were enough to keep her going. But as time passed on, her passion for making videos turned into an obsession. She started spending more of her time on making videos than her family, putting even more pressure on an already stressed out Ernie. Around 2014, she also started accusing Ernie of hurting her in her videos, hinting at just how bad their relationship was going.
Dang.
But then, after posting a seemingly random video in March of 2014, Samantha mysteriously vanished from the internet. Maybe she lost interest in YouTube or just wanted to focus on her family again. No one knew exactly why she quit so abruptly. Then, on the 20th of February 2015, viewers finally received the update they were waiting for. Unfortunately, it was far more tragic than anyone could have imagined. It started with the Texas police receiving a call from one of Samantha's aunts asking them to save her niece's life.
Dallas County 911, what's your emergency? I have a home invasion. My niece is tied up. I am at the verge of untying my niece at this particular moment.
Okay, she's tied up.
She is tied up and dead. And gagged? No, yes, I mean, is there anybody else there? Or where are the kids? We have 5 small infants asleep.
Apparently, 3 masked men broke into their home in the middle of the night and attacked the couple while they were asleep. The intruders then tied Samantha in her bedroom and after hitting him with a gun a few times, kidnapped Ernie. Samantha somehow managed to get her ties loose enough to call her aunt, who then contacted the police after arriving at Samantha's home herself. By the time officers arrived, Samantha's aunt had set her free from the restraints. The kids were fortunately safe as well. However, what made this whole situation strange was that the intruders didn't take anything else from their home besides Ernie. And from the people who knew him personally, Ernie wasn't the type of guy to make enemies with dangerous people. Put simply, investigators sensed something fishy with the whole situation. But all that paled in comparison to the main objective, which was to save Ernie as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Samantha didn't know anything that could give investigators their first clue. With no other option, the officers took Samantha to the station for further questioning, hoping to extract any useful information they could from her. But what none of them expected was that Samantha would change up her story completely after entering the interrogation room. Where before...
Why do people do that? Why do they have one story and then change up the...
Change it up like they not gonna know that you changed it up.
Exactly. By you changing it up, that just make you even more suspicious. Like, so people just came breaking in your home and kidnap your husband, your boyfriend, or whatever.
And they ain't take nothing else.
And they ain't take nothing else.
Ain't nothing else happened. You know what I'm saying?
They ain't take nothing else. They ain't take no money. Ain't take, a
the
child
babies.
or something or whatever like that. But they took your husband and he don't even have no problems with nobody.
With nobody violent or nothing.
Come on, girl.
Make it make
that
sense.
Samantha would change up her story completely
That's
after
why she
entering
changed
the
the story.
interrogation room. Where before she didn't know anything about the assailants, now she had the name of a potential suspect, John Rebel. As Samantha's story goes, she was talking to her friend about Ernie's supposed attacks on Samantha, when suddenly a man with the pseudonym John Rebel overheard their conversation and started talking about how a man shouldn't treat a woman that way and that he was going to handle the situation. Well, as it turned out, the name John Rebel actually belonged to someone, a man named Jonathan Sanford. The police found and arrested John not long after Samantha gave out his name, right alongside his 2 accomplices, Jose Ponce and Octavius Rhymes. Surprisingly, Jonathan put up little to no resistance and immediately confessed to kidnapping Ernie. He also confirmed the worst possible outcome,
so it did happen.
that by the time the police got involved, Ernie was already dead. The 3 took him to a secluded forest and executed him with 1 shot to the back of his head.
What was the purpose?
However, even after learning all this, one question remained. Why?
Exactly.
Why would
Was it
3
because of
men
her?
who didn't even know Ernie kidnap him from his home like that?
been.
Every answer to this question pointed back to Samantha, who kept denying any involvement. Even if the investigators ignored her suddenly remembering the perpetrator's name, there were several other suspicious aspects to her story. Like, how was she able to untie herself enough to call her aunt? Why didn't any of her neighbors hear the break-in? And why were the kids
'Cause she
all
set
sleeping
it
in the
up.
same room,
Yeah.
when usually they're scattered throughout the house? It wasn't long before investigators uncovered undeniable evidence of her direct involvement. This included instruction messages she sent to Octavius when the officers were trying to call Ernie's phone, which he had on him. These read, "Kill his phone, shut that down, ditch phone, move." There was no doubt about it at this point. Samantha was in colluding with her husband's killers. And as the investigation went on, the real story came out as well. Samantha had apparently become addicted to the idea of becoming a famous YouTuber, and her neglect of the kids became a constant source of fighting between the couple. But instead of resolving the issue like a responsible adult,
hired him
Samantha
to do something.
colluded with her friend's boyfriend to hatch a cartoonishly evil scheme to get rid of Ernie. They first wanted to plant hard drugs in his car and get him arrested, but
What?
later made the heartless decision that taking his life would be much easier. There's also a chance that Samantha went with the murder plan because it would have brought her more attention on YouTube. She was eventually sentenced to 149 years in prison for
Good.
killing her own
Good.
husband, leaving her 5 children completely orphaned in the process.
Stupid.
That's so sick.
5 kids.
That man went out there to do his best to take care of you and his family, you and his kids.
That's crazy. I didn't even chill.
He went and got 2 jobs just to make sure
Y'all straight.
y'all
Everybody
straight. Right. And you go over and do that dumb
Like, if you ain't wanted to be with him, just don't be with him.
You could have just let him go. You could have just let him go. That's all.
Y'all wanted to plant drugs in his car to get him in trouble.
To get him in trouble.
Nah,
They
let's
said
take him out.
Let's take him out. It would be easy. Yeah, but now look what happened.
I'm glad she got that amount of years.
I'm glad too, and I'm sorry for the kids, huh?
Yeah, the rest of them, they say the time for them?
I didn't know, but hopefully they got the same amount of time.
Yeah,
nasty,
more.
twisted dummies.
Completely orphaned in the process.
Crazy.
Diana Lovejoy was a successful technical writer living in the town of Carlsbad, California with her husband Greg Mulvihill. However, while her corporate job paid the bills, Diana's true passion was becoming a triathlon athlete and documenting her journey on video, resulting in her eventually starting her own fitness blog called Lovejoy Fitness and a YouTube channel by the name of Heavy DJ. She started this channel all the way back in 2008 and over the years used it to document various parts of her life. From meeting her parents after a long time to going scuba diving with her husband. At one point, she even tried to become a cooking show host of sorts.
Doesn't that smell nice?
Unfortunately, her channel never really took off, forcing her to eventually cut her losses and move on with her life in March of 2012. Or at least that's what it looked like from the outside. In reality, Diana's reason for abandoning her YouTube channel was kind of wholesome. You see, Diana and Greg had been trying for a baby for years by this point. Tragically, Diana had suffered 8 different miscarriages and was quickly losing hope. But then in September of 2012, the two were blessed with a perfectly healthy baby boy, marking an end to their struggle. However, what should have been a moment of celebration started a downward spiral of lies and betrayals, eventually culminating in an assassination attempt. Things started going downhill when just a few months after the birth of their son, Greg lost his job, leaving Diana as the sole breadwinner. The stress of the previous miscarriages, combined with the crushing weight of having to support a family in an extremely expensive city all on her own, spelled disaster for their marriage. It wasn't long before the two were constantly fighting with each other. Things escalated even further on July 9, 2014, when Greg returned home only to see a police officer waiting for him at the door. The officer explained that Greg wasn't allowed to enter his own home, because, as it turned out, Diana had accused him of attacking both her and their son. What followed was a nearly 2-year-long divorce mediation, during which the investigators found no evidence supporting Diana's accusations, allowing Greg to get a 50-50 custody of their son. Diana was also ordered to pay $120,000 as a part of their divorce settlement in late 2015. But before the divorce could be finalized, Greg received a phone call from an anonymous number that changed everything. The voice on the other end claimed to be a private investigator Diana had hired recently. And according to this investigator, he already had solid proof of the attack claims Diana had made against Greg. But for some unknown reason, he wanted to help Greg win the case, so he claimed to have left the documents taped to a power pole located on a small hiking trail near Greg's home. Greg naturally found this whole thing pretty suspicious and decided to take one of his friends with him to the pole on the night of September 4th, 2016. Sadly, despite his suspicions, he failed to grasp the true intentions of the strangely helpful private detective.
Hello, is this 911?
Yeah. My friend has just been shot.
Do you know who shot him?
There's a guy going down like a
Set him
sniper.
up.
A sniper? Did you see him at all?
Briefly, we saw the gun, and he shot at us like 6 or 7 times.
When Greg reached the pole, a sniper opened fire on him, shooting him clean through the chest. Fortunately, the bullet missed his heart by mere inches, giving him a second chance at life. By the time the police arrived, the shooter had already fled the crime scene. But a quick survey of the area allowed the investigators to uncover a pair of towels the shooter left behind. Running a DNA test on these towels led to a man named Weldon McDavid, Diana's shooting instructor. Weldon tried to deny any involvement at first, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. As after a thorough search, investigators were able to find another set of the same towels at Diana's place as well. They had also received CCTV footage of Diana buying the burner phone Weldon later used to lure Greg into the secluded area. Most importantly, investigators also found the gun Weldon
He
used.
said he always get caught. We always say when they go in the stores buying and stuff like that, they can't go and track back what you done bought.
Thank you. Y'all got to stop doing dumb stuff. And you the instructor got to be dumb too. Because
Real dumb.
What, you got paid for it? You thought that you was going to get away?
Get away a little bit of money.
Exactly.
Dang, man. I wish he would have something to click in his head and he'd be like, nah, that don't sound right.
I would have report her behind.
Yeah.
I would have report her behind. As soon as she would have called me with some dumb mess like that, I'd be like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, say that again. Man,
Yeah,
shoot.
man,
I was
that's
going ahead and
just-
report her. You try to get me in trouble?
All that talk.
No.
Real.
Lure Greg into the secluded area. Most importantly, investigators also found the gun Weldon used on Greg hidden in the rafters of his garage. By this point, it was clear that Diana was the one who wanted to get rid of Greg, likely to avoid paying the divorce settlement and keep full custody of her son. Diana and Weldon were arrested for the attempted assassination on Greg Mulvihill and tried for their crimes in November 2017. Both were found guilty, with Diana sentenced to 26 years to life and Weldon to a harsher...
No, don't do that now.
No, don't do that now.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, pick yourself up.
What was she thinking?
Right, what was you thinking? Because you don't want to pay that settlement.
And so the dude, he
So
had
it was
lived.
okay for you to lie on that man and tell him that he was hitting you and abusing you and the child.
Now you
So
wanna,
you were trying to, now you like this.
Now
all
you
the way.
can't
Pick
believe
yourself
it.
up.
You like T-Pain, can't believe it. Come on.
I'm guilty, with Diana
Good.
sentenced to 26 years to life and Weldon to a harsher 50 years to life.
Good.
The only silver lining in this entire case is that Greg was able to make a full recovery and is now living with his son.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and he got a son.
And
Good.
he had a son. Mhm.
The
Good.
Gunnar Runar 87 channel on YouTube seems oddly wholesome at first glance. It's owned by an Icelandic boy named Gunnar Runar Sigthorsson and contains a single 3.5 minute video of him confessing his feelings to the girl he loves. The title translates to English as My Confession to Hildur. In it, he says things like,
Hún án efa sérstakasta manneskja sem ég nokkuð tíma neitt. Ég verð svo ótrúlega glaður bara að vera nálægt henni. Það er ekki meira. Og þetta ætlað þér því að ég held sig og reyna að stangja með þér.
However, this seemingly heartfelt love letter turned out to be the key to solving one of the most horrific crimes in recent Icelandic history. And it all led back to Gunnar and the troubled life he had as a child. You see, Gunnar didn't have a mother growing up, resulting in him getting extremely close with his father. However, on the night of September 20th, 1996, when Gunnar was just 9 years old, his father decided to end it all using a gun. What made this already messed up situation even worse was the fact that Gunnar was in the room with his father and witnessed everything. Unsurprisingly, this took a heavy toll on Gunnar's mental health. He withdrew from the world and refused to accept his father's death as reality. Everything seemed hopeless for Gunnar. That is until primary school, when he met a girl named Hildur and instantly became infatuated with her. He'd admired her throughout school and into adulthood, but never found the courage to make a move, fearing he'd lose his only close friend. However, things changed in 2009 when Hildur got engaged to a man named Hannes. This gave Gunnar the push to do something about his feelings.
Crash out.
But given his shy personality, he still couldn't confront Hildur directly. So, in March of 2009, he created a YouTube channel and uploaded his confession on there. Hildur never reciprocated his feelings, but the two remained friends. Even Hannes, Hildur's now husband, didn't seem to mind Gunnar's company, something he likely regretted deeply just a year later. It all went down on the 14th of August 2010. Hildur was invited to a party that Gunnar was attending as well. But things got a bit out of hand, and Hildur ended up drinking too much and passing out. Given their closeness, the task of getting her home safely was handed to Gunnar. But instead of dropping her off at Hannes' house like he should have, Gunnar took her to his own home. By the time Hildur woke up, it was already morning. She was understandably furious with Gunnar and immediately called one of her friends to drive her home. But nothing could have prepared Hildur for the horrific scene she witnessed on the other side of her front door. Her husband Hannes was lying on the top of the staircase near their bedroom, submerged in a pool of his own blood. She ran outside and called the authorities. Sadly, it was already too late. Hannes had received over 20 stab wounds on his body, from his arms and legs to the back of his neck, and was long dead by the time Hildur found him. Given his condition, his death was ruled a homicide, and investigators wasted no time in looking for the killer. And while they initially suspected one of his business rivals of committing this horrific crime, it didn't take long for investigators to find Gunnar's video confession to Hildur and bring him in for questioning. Gunnar denied knowing anything about it, and was eventually let go due to lack of evidence. Fortunately, not all hope was lost, because not long after that, investigators found a bloody shoe print next to Hannes' bed. Looking deeper into this print revealed that it belonged to a pair of limited edition Adidas shoes. At the time, there were only 18 of these specific shoes in all of Iceland. And Gunnar just so happened to own one of these pairs. This was enough evidence to detain him once again. This also gave investigators the authority to do a thorough search of his belongings, resulting in them finding residue of Hannes's blood on his shoes, as well as in his car. Once presented with this evidence, Gunnar confessed to the murder. He also revealed that he'd been planning it for months, and even shoplifted the items he intended to use to avoid purchase records linking back to him. And while he didn't admit to it, Hilda also suspected him of spiking her drink that night, since she usually never passed out like that. After committing the crime, he also drove to a nearby pier and dumped items used in the crime into the sea to get rid of any evidence. It was a well thought out plan, since he was only caught because the garbage bag he used to hide his shoe prints tore open as he walked. As for his motive, it was just as everyone had expected, with him making it clear during the investigation, stating, "I loved Hilda. She was supposed to be with me. She was not supposed to be with him." Surprisingly, he was found not guilty during his first trial on March 1, 2011 by reason of insanity stemming from his messed up childhood. However, the prosecution argued that he was fully aware of his actions and escalated the case to the Supreme Court of Iceland. Gunnar was found guilty on his second trial and was sentenced to 16 years in prison. This was already lenient given the brutality of his crime, yet he ended up serving only half of that sentence as well. He was released under supervision in July 2019.
This system
and
a
now
joke.
works at a local warehouse.
They a joke. This system is a joke. Now he had a...
He gonna work in my warehouse.
No, you're not.
Because they see that overly obsessed type person, that you and there's no telling what you do.
You get fooled and no telling what you do for real.
Right. You might try to
Come in there
like somebody else. Right.
Like somebody that working and see you talking to somebody else on break or something, come in there with the drama, the crazy, toxic.
Yeah,
no, bro.
They should have not let him out there. No.
It only gave him 16 years, and he only did half of that, and he out working in the warehouse and stuff.
Out.
You know, did all that to a person, bro, did all that, and you only get that little bit of time. Like, I be wondering, how does that be happening?
I wonder.
Y'all let us know y'all thoughts down below. Y'all know we always down there with y'all to see what fam got to say, man. So
Right.
y'all get down there, tap in. This is crazy. All of them. I want to know your thoughts, man.
Yeah, tap in down below. Let us know.
Tap in, man. We love y'all. Appreciate the support once again, the comments and everything, man. Y'all the best. Catch y'all next one.
Catch y'all next one.
For sure.